I'm here on a lane just outside a typical English village, and I'm here to look at the primroses growing on the bank, and we're going to take a closer look. Come with me. This is not an untypical scene. I'm sure many of us have driven past banks like this with primroses growing along them. We all drive past hedgerows with spring flowers in them like primroses and don't give it a second thought. But primroses come in two forms. They're a heterostylous species, and they come in the forms of pin and thrum. Let's have a look at some. These are thrum. They have a star-like shape right up in the middle by that yellow centre, and we'll take a closer look. The upper flower is more mature and the pollen is ripe. On the lower flower, the stamens in the centre appear to be not ripe yet. The stamens are the male part of the flower. Just a few feet away we have the pin form, and if you look at this one down here in particular, you should be able to see what looks like a pinhead in the centre of the flower. So here in the close-up of the pin flower, you can see the pistil showing itself at the top of the flower. This is the female part of the flower. These two forms of the primrose, the pin and the thrum, are interesting in that pollinators who go to a pin flower can't pollinate with that pollen another pin flower. They have to be pollinated by the opposite kind. So pin pollinates thrum and thrum pollinates pin. And we're going to take a close-up look at the flower in detail and see how it's structured. So here we have the two different morphological types of primrose, the two forms, the thrum on the left and the pin on the right. Now I've cut these flowers to expose the centre so we can see the detail. These were picked from a garden, not from the wild. There's laws against that. Taking it from the top, we've got the corolla, number one, which most people would think of as the flower and not think anything beyond that. Number two is the stamens, number three the pistil, and number four the calyx, which is the cover of the flower before it breaks from bud. The interesting parts here are number 2 and 3. On the thrum flower, 2 is at the top, 3 is at the bottom. On the pin flower, it's the other way round. So in the thrum, the pistil is low and the stamens are high, and in the pin, the stamens are low and the pistil is high. The pistil is actually 3 parts in reality. You've got the stigma, the style and the ovary. So the stigma is at the top, the stem is the style, and at the base we have the ovary. And that's the female part of the flower, and the stamens, number 2, are the male part of the flower. And you can see really just by the differences in the position of the stamens that it either requires a different insect or a different body part to come into contact with number 2 in either flower to transfer the pollen to number 3 in the other flower. And that's basically what makes up the pin and the thrum and makes it so interesting. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little investigation into the details of the sex life of this primrose and all that entails. Maybe when you're walking along and in the woods or along a lane, you see a primrose in future, you'll take a closer look and see what that type of primrose is and ponder on why it does what it does. Thank you for watching. I've enjoyed this, apart from the incessant cars that are passing. And yesterday when I came here, there were no cars at all. Just can't... Yeah.